Welcome to Raising Consciousness with me, Lou Burrows, where raising human consciousness happens. On this show, I'm joined by guests to cover a range of topics and have conversations that will raise human consciousness for current and future generations. Now, let's dive into today's show. Hi everyone, welcome back to Raising Consciousness with me, your host, Lou Burrows. And if you listened and tuned into the last episode where I walked through the true happiness and fulfillment model, I hinted that in episode 23 of the show, I would be diving into another blueprint that I put together all around the purpose of human existence. Now, when I first put this together, I think it was round about the beginning of July, maybe even end of June, I was like so excited by it. Like I can't explain like the level of excitement that I had around this. In fact, as soon as I made this discovery, and again, like everything I'm sharing over the past few weeks is just one person's point of view on life, of the world, and insights and observations that I make ultimately. But I was so excited that I ran downstairs, was sharing it with my family, and at the time I was just like, wow, because I felt like I made a breakthrough. Because for so long in my life, I have been questioning the purpose of my life, like what is my life purpose, but also like curious of the purpose of human existence, like why am I here, Lou Burrows? What's my purpose? And then building on top of that, what's the purpose of us, of like human beings, and this thing called life, and it's just so it's often wordless. I also find of actually what is life, and I feel that through putting this concept, this idea, this blueprint ultimately together, it's enabled me to start to understand life a little bit more. And not that I need to understand life, but I feel like one of my core beliefs is to have purpose, right? Is to have purpose in life, is to have purpose in everything that I'm doing. And like putting this episode together, putting the concept together enabled me to not just clarify my own life purpose a bit more, but also, again, put together a blueprint that I believe can help us all to understand the purpose of human existence, and also use it to formulate and create our own life purpose. So in the past, around life purpose, I have shared I've shared a few different ideas and things that have come up for me. One of which is that we have multiple life purposes, which I still believe that we have, that we do. For example, that my life purpose is to be, my ultimate, or one of them, is to be the best human being that I can be. And then if I break that down, the best brother, the best son, the best entrepreneur, etc., etc., and driven by this belief, but also the value of growth and becoming a better version of myself, right? So I believe that also before I dive into the purpose of all human existence, that we have different life purposes. And I think that what this blueprint I'm about to share with you enables us to kind of understand is to discover our overall life purpose, I guess. And then within that, we have, let's call them like micro life purposes, maybe, that can help us to navigate life as well. So, because, and I wanted to share that because for so long, I also felt that I needed to find like this one big thing, and that sometimes that can add a lot of pressure to us, You've got to find this one big thing to focus in on. That's our life purpose. Now, the blueprint I'm about to share with you will help us to break that down. But another way of thinking about it is that we also have different life purposes, and not just like this one big thing. That can also help us with this big question of what is my life purpose. Secondly, is the actual purpose of life is finding our life purpose, right? Let's think about that for just a moment. I actually wrote a blog post on this. I almost see it as like our overall, let's call it our life quest, is to discover the big reason why we are here. Just imagine that. And when I even think about that, maybe I'm coming across like it as well. That actually fuels me. That actually excites me because it's almost like actually I don't need to discover my life purpose because the whole point of life from a bigger understanding is to be on the journey, is to embrace the quest of doing so. And that really interests me and something that I'm diving into and exploring a lot more. As I've been sharing in recent episodes, hit me up on Twitter at Real Lou Burrows with your 2 cents, right? With your thoughts on what I'm sharing right now. I think that last concept, that last idea is one that can actually help a lot of people to not feel so stressed out also about discovering their life purpose because again I feel like none of us know the answer really because again is there any answer? It's the answer for us, like what feels true for us in the moment. And so really I'm asking the question of, is life's purpose to embrace the quest of finding out what our life purpose is? Now that feeds quite nicely into the human existence blueprint that I wanted to share with you today, because the foundation and the purpose of this blueprint, and therefore of all human existence, is down and comes down to three main things, to three main areas. And I want you to pay attention to what I'm about to share with you because it's very closely linked to a lot of ideas that I have been sharing recently, especially around humanity first values. Okay, so I'm giving you a little bit of a insight there, a little bit of a tip there. In my opinion, the purpose of all human existence does come down to three main things. The first of which is love. The first of which is love. Now, let me explain love. As I was putting this together, I kind of realized that as I look around life, I look around in my life, I look around like the universe, life in general, and everything that I have discovered over the past 12 to 18 months, love keeps coming up, and unconditional love keeps coming up, which provoked the understanding within me that actually the purpose of all human existence is to love unconditionally. Remember what I just said, right? One of the first or one of the foundational humanity first values is love and kindness, and the purpose of all human existence is to love unconditionally. They are linked. They are totally linked. And when I was creating these ideas and these concepts, this wasn't intentional. I create a concept or I formulate an idea through journaling, etc., and then I move on to like the next one, and then I'm like, oh, make connections between the two. Love is there. Love is totally there, and unconditional love is totally there. So this means to love ourselves, love others, love the environment, and love the planet in which we live. It's to love everything unconditionally. I love everything unconditionally. I cannot stress that enough with you to help you to understand that. Okay? It means to love everything, everyone around us with this vibration of whatever you do, say, whoever you are, I'm going to love you unconditionally. Now, this is different to having personal standards, right? I hinted on this in the last episode. Like, people can treat you badly, and you just accept that and allow that to continue on for years and maybe even the rest of your life. That's not unconditional love. That is you, and I've experienced this myself, having a little bit of a lack of self-worth, to be honest, and self-esteem as well. Okay, when we step into the frequency of unconditional love, it links for me the conversation around human consciousness partly as well. Now, what I mean by that is that someone could do something bad to you. You don't accept that as something that is going to continue for the rest of your life. So, for example, let's say you're in a relationship, somebody does the dirty on you, somebody cheats on you, somebody treats you badly. Having a low degree of self-worth and self-esteem means that you're going to continue to stay in that relationship. Stepping into the frequency of unconditional love means that you have raised your understanding and your consciousness to the point that you understand that that person is operating from the highest level of consciousness that they can in that moment, yeah, for whatever reason. And because you understand that, you are going to forgive them and still love them unconditionally, but move on if you feel that that is the right thing for you in that moment. So there's a difference. You have a high level, or your level of self-worth and self-esteem is increasing because you're growing. You're on this path of personal evolution and unfoldment, and so you are continuously growing and increasing your self-worth, self-esteem, etc. While at the same time, and while I'm through that, you're not accepting somebody's behavior, but there's that difference, and I want people to really understand this, because I don't want people to feel like, oh well, I need to stay in this relationship because I'm loving unconditionally. The key definition here as well, when I was sharing love with you, it means to love ourselves first, others, the environment, and then the planet in which we live. And because we're operating within this frequency of unconditional love, we also become unforgivable. That's a term from Vishen Lakhiani and Mindvalley, because anything that anybody says or does doesn't touch us. Right? We become therefore unforgivable because we're operating within this vibration of unconditional love. We're sharing unconditional love. We're being helpful. We are being supportive, etc. With that high degree of self-worth and self-esteem and vision for and clarity for our own life. An important understanding here as well that I made through this is that we don't have to get or give unconditional love, for unconditional love is at our core, which might help me to explain or go back to some of the points I was making beforehand. Is that actually, I'll pose the question to you guys to see if this helps you to understand this more. Therefore, is there a difference between unconditional love and love? Right? Is there the difference between unconditional love and love? I'm just going to leave that question out there, because going through this blueprint, I sense and I feel that there's a difference between what I'm talking about from the perspective of having unconditional love, because unconditional love is that higher vibration, right? It's that higher frequency. And let's just say being in love with somebody, because when you're being in love with somebody, you know it's more focused on them. Where you're operating from unconditional love, you have unconditional love for everything and everyone. You're operating from that higher level of consciousness, and so you become elevated. Your love for yourselves, your love for just everyone, right? The environment, the planet in which we live, all becomes elevated. So the first pillar of the purpose of all human existence is love, because it's all around us. Okay, it's all around us, and it starts with loving ourselves out to others, out to the environment, and out to the planet in which we live. And it's about becoming this, right? Stepping into that and really experiencing that. It's one of those things that when you truly experience it, and I'm still on the journey to that. I feel like we all experience that at certain points in our lives. It clicks for you, and obviously on the journey of embodying all of this as well. But the first point that I wanted to get across, the purpose of all human existence, is love. Okay, having, embracing, embodying unconditional love for ourselves, for others, for the environment, and for the planet in which we live. Once we are at this place of unconditional love, we move on to contribution. So contribution, again, another Humanity First value, is unique to us all, for we are all different, right? I've shared this in the last episode. We are all different and therefore are designed to use our strengths, skills, gifts, passions, talents, and interests to give and to contribute to the world in a meaningful way. Therefore, contribution is about bringing these elements, bringing these parts of us into the world with consciousness, being aware of them, with intention to help, to support, and to serve. And ultimately, again, for me, to move humanity forward, to create a better world in some way. So we have love, unconditional love. We have contribution where we're giving, right? And the two, I mean, it's all linked as well, because when we are embracing unconditional love and we are giving, it's a little bit of a feedback circle. So what I mean by that is sometimes that people feel that they are being taken advantage of, so they are coming to the table and maybe they're bringing their strengths and skills into the world, but they feel like they're being taken advantage of. When you're coming from the place of unconditional love alongside contribution and moving together with these two foundational understandings, you don't feel taken advantage of. The whole thing around taking advantage of is partly when you are looking to gain something on the receiving end. Now, on some level, I do believe that we all, at least a thought, right? At least a thought of like, oh, if I do this for somebody, not so much on that low level, actually, let me rephrase that. If I maybe help somebody in this way, then this could happen, especially like in business and when we talk about providing value. So I do feel like on some level that even if it's a thought, right, of like, oh, this could lead to that, like for me, right? It may not be intentional, it may not be the forefront of our mind and the reason and the deep purpose around why we're doing it. But again, I still do believe that sometimes we have a thought, but there's the intention therefore is different, rather than leading with the intention of, I'm really good at this, so I can fix this person's computer, let's say, and then get this in return. I'm leading with that intention rather than leading with the intention of really wanting to help this person to get their computer back up. And I don't know if this is the first thing that's come to me when I think around skills and stuff, right? And you may have a passing thought of, that could lead to A, B, and C. Could, it might not. But your intention is different because your main intention is to really help the person. Because, like sometimes the mind just has its own thoughts, right? And we experience that. That is often different from our actual intentions that come from, again, this place of unconditional love in the heart, and etc. And so it's to be aware of to be conscious and aware of the thoughts and the difference between passing thoughts that we may have of where things could potentially lead, and not allowing that to take over us, and actually coming from more of this place of heart and love and kindness. But anyway, so we have love and we have contribution, okay? We have love and contribution. And when we merge the two together, we're contributing in a way where we are sharing unconditional love, and we're using our strengths, skills, gifts, talents, passions, interests, and ideas to contribute to the world in a meaningful way. And we're being open to whatever that might lead, if it leads somewhere, if not, like whatever the byproduct of that is. The third stage of the purpose of all human existence and this blueprint is growth, okay? Is growth. Again, another humanity first value. Look around you right now. All living organisms are designed to grow and evolve in some way. The universe is always moving forward. Everything is always moving forward. It's the understanding that we are designed as human beings, we are designed at our very core to grow and evolve in all areas of our life. And that similarly to contribution, growth is unique to all of us. For we are all different and therefore designed to grow in different ways. I shared this in a past episode as well, right? And so I hope you're seeing how like concepts I shared before, concepts I'm sharing now are all linked. It's all linked, and they're all around the main 6 humanity first values, which 3 of them are mentioning here today, which I feel like are the foundation of obviously human existence, but even of the values I've shared beforehand: love, contribution, growth. Love, contribution, growth. We are designed to give unconditional love. It's at our byproduct. It's at our core. It's a byproduct of who we are. We don't need to get unconditional love. We don't necessarily even need to give all conditional love. We just need to feel it, right? And allow it to come out of us, and allow it to express ourselves, because it's our very nature. Contribution, right? We move to contribution and like, okay, what am I good at? What am I passionate about? What are my ideas to move the world forward and to serve and to help people? Okay, bring these into the world. allow the ego part of your mind to just kind of move to the side, and step into full contribution and be open to whatever the byproduct of you bringing your strengths and skills and gifts and talents, etc., into the world is. What I was kind of sharing beforehand is actually the ego mind of like how we want to bring these things into the world and then get something in return. Whereas actually, if we surrender to unconditional love, to contribution, to growth, whether it's in 5 minutes or whether it's in 5 years, we will be quote unquote rewarded or repaid for us bringing our strengths and skills and gifts into the world and for the contribution that we have gave. Now that reward or that gift could actually be the actual byproduct of us bringing the strength or the skill or the gift into the world, because of the other end of that, we have felt happiness, felt fulfillment, right? If you tuned into the last episode when I was sharing the model all around happiness and fulfillment, the first level of that model is happiness and fulfillment from the inside out. So when we are contributing, the actual reward, for one of a better term, for one of a better word, that we could receive from giving could actually be us being our expanded higher selves. Like, do you understand this? Like, hit me up on Twitter at RealLukeBurrows if you actually understand this. Like, often we feel, and I'm exactly the same, like I'm talking all from experience, that when I do something, a good deed, or when I bring a strength into the world, or when I dive into one of my strengths and skills, passions and interests, that the reward of that has to be money, or the reward of that has to be a material thing. Where why can't the natural byproduct, the natural exchange of me doing that thing is the fulfillment and the happiness and me being my expanded self, the person who is meant to do that thing? Why can't that be the, again, for one of a better word, the reward? Basically, what I'm saying is that everything that we give out into the world, and that's what contribution is bringing our strengths, skills, gifts, talents, passions, and interests into the world. So where it's coming from us out, so it's going out into the world. Everything that goes out, there has to also be the opposite of that, right? There's a universal law that demonstrates this. I think it's the law of polarity that pretty much states this, right? The law of opposites. So I wanted to share that with you before diving a little bit more into growth, because we all grow in different ways. I have shared that, and I hope that you really understand that. The main thing around growth that really gets me is how everything around us grows and is moving forward. The universe is always moving forward. And sometimes, because we don't see it, because we may not see it because we're sometimes, we're so busy in our own lives, especially when it comes to things like plants or trees or something, So recently I've started growing some of my own food, just like carrots and potatoes and stuff, right? So really like basic stuff. But, I could water them, go away, come back 24 hours, day later. And sometimes, I would go longer because, I'm getting caught up with work stuff and other things in my life. And it's only then when I come back later that I notice the growth, right? But the food, the plants, the vegetables, right, were always growing, and I would walk past them every day to go out of my house. But I wouldn't notice that they were growing. And it's the same with everything around us, that things are always growing, but sometimes we're not paying conscious attention to them and not actually aware of them. Because of that, everything is always growing and moving forward. If we are also not growing and moving forward, we're actually going backwards, right? Even if you stay the same, you're actually declining because everything is moving forwards. Again, hit me up on Twitter if this makes sense to you and you understand it. Now, this isn't to put pressure on you to grow, right? This is for you to stop, reflect, and go, okay, if we are destined and designed to grow it and evolve in all areas of life, in all areas of my life, what are the ways that I want to grow that is unique for me? Ask that question, like, what are those ways I want to grow? Brain dump them down and then go for it. So I got a little bit off track. But we've got love, we've got contribution, and we've got growth. Now, I start this episode by talking about life purpose. This is where it comes back around full circle, because I put together an equation. Contribution plus growth equals our life purpose. Allow me to repeat that for you, for the people at the back, right? Contribution plus our growth, our personal growth, equals our life purpose. Let me explain. Our life purpose is activated by us sitting down and creating a vision for our life, for how we want to contribute to the world and how we want to grow consciously. We create our life purpose. We create our life purpose. Sometimes we feel like we need to discover our life purpose, and it's kind of, our life purpose is outside, is outside of us, and whatever it is, or it's like deep within us. In a way, it's both. But we are the ones that, if we want to be the true creator of our life, we are the ones that activate our own life purpose. We do that. We do that by sitting down, going within, to create a life vision for how we want our life to unfold, for how we want to contribute, what do I want to give, and how do I want to grow. So we go in, in a way, it's like we go in to come back out, right? So we go in to create the life vision, to come out for how we want to contribute and how we want to grow consciously. Again, I don't want to continue to repeat myself, although I feel it's important to hit the message home that our contribution is found in our strengths, skills, gifts, talents, passions, interests, and ideas, and bringing these into the world, again, to move humanity forward. Our growth is how we envision, intend, and want our life to unfold, how we want to grow, again, that word, consciously. Building on top of this, right, our growth is the measure of success. I'm going to record an episode all about success in the near future. Let me know if you would like that episode, if you want me to talk about more about success and how growth plays a part. But this is part of this formula as well, and more in particular the growth side, because we grow. Part of our vision is that we envision and set the intention for how we want to grow consciously. As a byproduct of that, our growth, therefore, is a measure of our success. If you're growing, you're succeeding, no matter how big or how small the growth, right? So growth equals success. So I want you to kind of go in and reflect on that, because that is part of this, because we are contributing and we're growing, which means we are successful because we're always moving forward. We're not declining. We're going up. We are becoming a better version of ourselves. We're growing consciously. So therefore, growth also equals success, and the combination together of contribution and our growth equals our entire life purpose. And by applying this life blueprint, by applying human existence blueprint, it shows us that we can create our lives, that we are to create our lives, and we don't need to go out there and find anything or even really do anything, but instead activate this idea, right? Activate this formula and create a compelling life vision. Because when we create a compelling life vision and move towards it, we are moving towards our higher self and our life purpose and who we are ultimately destined to be, right? We are bringing it into the world to create our lives. First, becoming a life creator, which I would rather be on the journey towards, right? Of creating my life rather than sitting by and just allowing things to happen to me. Now, but when you are also a life creator, that doesn't mean that you don't open yourself up to the universe and to the unfoldment of your life. It means that you have even with that, right, you have the intention that you're going to open yourself up because you are the driving force. I hope that this all made sense to you. I mean, part of me feels like it's not. Part of me feels like obviously it has to make sense on some level for you to go and do something with it or apply it or even test it to then get feedback and then you learn and then you grow, right? But I understand that I have shared a lot and not all of these parts are fully formed. I'm still applying it to my own life and still getting feedback myself, but I feel it's something that we can use to create our lives, become a life creator, discover our life purpose, and just understand that the three main things that are at the foundation of our existence is love, contribution, and growth. And that if we, as a byproduct, focus there, focus on being loving and kind and caring, etc. Focus on contributing and bringing our strengths and gifts into the world, etc. And then focus on our growth and how we want to grow and move forward in our lives. We will discover and find our life purpose by activating all of this within our own lives. So I hope, again, that this episode has been insightful in some way. Do hit me up on Twitter at RealLukeBurrows to share your 2 cents with me. Now, in an upcoming episode, I'm going to be building on this because there is a next stage to this. And that next stage is therefore, okay, well, how do I create a compelling life vision? Okay, now, over the past 18 months, I've gone through, well, for a long time, I've gone through many vision creation processes, and the most recent one that I use is really impactful. And so I'm going to be sharing that with you in an upcoming episode. I have a few guests coming up before then, and recently I've made some new discoveries with the life visioning model. That's the next stage of this, is that okay, we understand the formula, we understand contribution plus growth equals my life purpose, and obviously the big part of that is to create a compelling life vision, and I'm going to be sharing that with you in an upcoming episode. So all that's left for me to say is I hope you found this episode impactful, inspiring in some way. Do hit me up on Twitter to let me know, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next episode where we have some great guests coming up. So until then, guys, have a fantastic rest of your week, a fantastic rest of your day, and peace out. If you got value from this episode, found it insightful, or learned a thing or two, please leave a review where you can let everyone know that this show is worth checking out. I appreciate you so much. You'll be hearing from me in the next episode.